children. One morning, one man who made a decision weeks before anyone realized what was coming. This is not a story about a man who snapped. This is a story about a system that saw every warning sign and looked away. If you follow true crime, if you care about domestic violence cases, if you have ever asked yourself how something this evil gets this far without being stopped, stay with me. Because what happened in Shreveport, Louisiana on April 19th, 2026 is going to change the way you think about the people around you, the warning signs you might be ignoring, and the courtroom decisions that quietly put children in danger. Before we go any further, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel covers cases like this one in full. No headlines, no hot takes, just the complete story. Every detail, every question, every answer. And drop a comment below, where are you watching from tonight? Because this case has people talking all over the world, and I want to hear from you. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Because the morning of April 19th did not come out of nowhere. It came at the end of a trail of Facebook posts, unanswered phone calls, a dismissed court charge, a family court date, and a man who told the people closest to him exactly what was building inside of him. Nobody pulled the alarm. And 8 children, the youngest just 3 years old, never woke up again. Here is what you need to understand before we get into the timeline. Shamar Elkins was not a stranger to these children. He was their father. 7 of those 8 kids shared his blood. He dressed them in their best clothes for Easter Sunday, just 1 week before he killed them. He posted the photo. He smiled in it. And that same night, he called his mother and his stepfather and told them he was drowning. That detail right there, that is the detail that will stay with you long after this video ends. Let's start with who Shamar Elkins was, because the media coverage on this case keeps skipping the background, and the background is everything. Born January 1st, 1995 inches, Shreveport, Louisiana, a New Year's baby. Born and raised in the same city where he would eventually die. At 18 years old, he enlisted in the Louisiana Army National Guard. 7 years of service, 2013 through 2020. Now, here is where the picture starts getting complicated, because the narrative that was quietly building around him, disciplined, military, family man, does not match the documented record. In 7 years of service, Shamar Elkins was never deployed, not once. He left the National Guard in August of 2020, not as an officer, not having earned a combat patch or any advancement in rank. He left as a private, the lowest enlisted rank possible, exactly where he started. 7 years, 0 upward movement. That alone does not make a man dangerous. But pair it with what happened in March of 2019, and a pattern begins to emerge. March 2019. Shreveport. Elkins is outside when someone in a passing vehicle allegedly points a gun at him. His response? He pulls a 9mm handgun from his waistband and fires 5 rounds at that vehicle as it drives away. Those 5 shots were fired within 300 feet of the fence line of Caddo Magnet High School. Children were outside at the time. He was charged with 2 counts: illegal use of a weapon and carrying a firearm on school property. That second charge, the one that could have permanently stripped him of his right to own a gun, was dismissed. He pleaded guilty only to the weapons charge, received 18 months of probation, no prison time, no firearms ban. Probation. He walked out of that courtroom with his weapons access fully intact. And nobody asked the obvious question. If this man just fired 5 shots near a school full of children during a dispute, what happens when the next dispute is personal? 7 years later, we have the answer. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this next section, because this is where the story stops being about a man and starts being about a system. A legal system with a hole in it. A mental health system that was never called. A community that saw the signs and didn't know what to do with them. By early 2026, Shamar Elkins was living in a domestic situation that by all accounts was falling apart rapidly. He had married a woman named Sheniqua. They had 4 daughters together. He also had 3 children with a second woman. All 7 children were living together on West 79th Street in Cedar Grove, Shreveport, and his marriage was heading for a divorce hearing, a custody battle. A court date scheduled for April 20th, 2026, the day after he killed his children. Think about that timing. He knew exactly what that court date meant. It meant formalization. It meant the legal system deciding who got custody, who got access, who got what was left of this fractured family. And in the weeks leading up to it, Shamar Elkins began leaving a digital trail so clear, so specific, that looking back at it now feels like reading a confession written in real time. 6 weeks before the shooting, he responded to a Facebook post from a page called Dads Matter Everywhere. The post asked fathers if they could go back in time and have children with a different woman but still have the same kids, would they do it? His public answer, hell yeah, I would. He said out loud on the internet to anyone who would read it that he wished he had never built a family with his wife. 6 weeks before he killed the children they shared. That is not grief. That is not venting. Behavioral experts who study familicide cases, cases where a parent murders their own children, call this the beginning of a mental separation process. The grievance becomes the obsession. The obsession shifts the target. The children stop being people he loves and start being things he is about to lose. And if he cannot have them in his fractured, deteriorating mind, then no one will. April 9th, 2026. 10 days before the shooting, Elkins posts a prayer on Facebook. Not a general inspirational share. A specific personal prayer asking God to protect his mind and his emotions from depression, anger, anxiety, and panic. He was not hiding. He was broadcasting. And the window to intervene was still open. Easter Sunday, April 13th. 1 week before the shooting, he takes all 7 of his children to church. Posts a photo of them dressed up, smiling, captions it, "Happy Easter. Had a wonderful time at church for the first time with all my kids. What a blessed day." That same evening, he calls his mother, Mahalia Elkins, and his stepfather, Marcus Jackson. And on that call the same day he posted those smiling children, he tells them he is suicidal. That his wife wants a divorce? That he is drowning in dark thoughts? He says it through tears. His stepfather, Marcus Jackson tried. He told his stepson, "You can beat this. I don't care what you are going through. You can beat it." And Shamar Elkins said back to him, "Some people don't come back from their demons." Marcus Jackson will hear those words for the rest of his life. No welfare check was made. No crisis intervention was called. No mental health hold was triggered. 2 weeks passed. 2 days before the shooting, he posts a photo of his oldest daughter at a restaurant, eating a cheeseburger. He captions it, "Took my oldest on a little one-on-one date, a father-daughter outing. Warm, normal, public." Today, that photo reads as a goodbye that didn't know it was one. Saturday evening, April 18th, a neighbor across the street named Fred Montgomery sees Elkins sitting on his porch. The children are playing in the yard. Montgomery waves. Elkins waves back. The kids play until the evening light fades. Montgomery goes to bed. He woke up the next morning to police tape and body bags. Sunday, April 19th, 2026. Cedar Grove, Shreveport, Louisiana. Just after 5 in the morning. Shamar Elkins left his house armed with 2 weapons. Investigators later confirmed a rifle-style pistol and a small caliber handgun. He had a plan. He had a target list, and he was already moving. His first stop was the home of his wife on Harrison Street. He shot her multiple times. She was struck in the face. She survived, but barely. She was rushed to hospital for emergency surgery. He did not wait to see if she would live. He moved. Less than a quarter mile away, on the 300 block of West 79th Street, all 7 of his children were inside the house. Also inside the second woman, believed to be the mother of 3 of those children, and a 13-year-old boy. Elkins entered the home and opened fire. Police and CBS News confirmed that the children were shot execution style. Let that sit for a moment. His own children. Some tried to run. Bullet holes in the back door were still visible the next morning when reporters arrived on scene. Some of the children had made it as far as that door. The second woman managed to get out through a window. She took 2 children to the roof with her. She jumped from the roof with one of them, the 13-year-old boy. He survived the fall, but with broken bones. He was the one who called 911 from the rooftop. The other child she had brought to the roof did not make it. Police found that child's body on the roof with a gunshot wound. They had made it all the way outside and still didn't survive. Inside the house, 7 more children were dead. At 5:55 inches the morning, the first emergency call came in. Someone on the roof reporting a shooting. At 5:58, a second call, the suspect was a family member. At 5:59, a caller told dispatch that approximately 9 people lived in that home and that Shamar Elkins had shot everyone inside. At 6, the caller said she and her children had fled through the roof and were in the backyard. 6:01 a.m. Officers arrived on scene. 1 minute after that final call, Elkins was already gone. A neighbour's security camera captured him fleeing on foot toward a nearby tyre shop. He found a vehicle. He carjacked it at gunpoint. Shreveport police began immediate pursuit. He crossed Cedar Grove. He crossed the Red River into Bossier Parish. Officers pursued him to Brompton Lane near Longacre Drive. At 6:29 inches the morning, officers made contact through an exchange of gunfire. At 7:03 a.m., Shamar Elkins was pronounced deceased on Brompton Lane. He was 31 years old. 4 crime scenes, 10 people shot, 8 of them children, all dead. Let me give you those names, because they deserve to be said. Jayla Elkins, 3 years old. Shayla Elkins, 5 years old. Brillen Snow, 5 years old. Kayla Pugh, 6 years old. Kadarian Snow, 6 years old. Layla Pugh, 7 years old. Marquan Pugh, 10 years old. Seria Snow, 11 years old. 3 boys, 5 girls, 7 siblings and their cousin. When a Shreveport police spokesperson read those ages aloud at the press conference, audible gasps filled the room. Grown adults, investigators, city officials, gasping. Shreveport City Councilman Grayson Boucher said it plainly in one morning, one act of domestic violence more than doubled the city's homicide count for the entire year. Now, I need to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments below, because this question matters. If someone you loved told you they were suicidal, that they couldn't come back from their demons, that their family was falling apart, would you call for help, or would you try to handle it privately? Because that question is the center of this entire case. And it is the question the families of those 8 children will live with forever. This is the part that the algorithm does not want you to sit with. The part that gets glossed over in the breaking news cycle. The pattern. Retired FBI behavioral expert Jason Pack explained it in the aftermath of this shooting. In familicide cases, and this is one of the most devastating forms of domestic violence, we document the violence never starts on the day it happens. It starts with a grievance, a breakup, a custody threat, a perceived humiliation. The individual fixates. The obsession grows. The focus shifts from saving what they have to destroying what someone else might get. The children become possessions, not people. Possessions. And in the perpetrator's deteriorating logic, if he cannot keep them, no one else will either. Map that onto Shamar Elkins. Divorce proceedings, custody hearings, a court date the next morning, weeks of social media posts showing a man unraveling in public, a suicidal phone call to his own family, 2 prior convictions, a dismissed firearms charge. Every system that was supposed to catch this moment had a chance. The criminal court in 2019, the mental health system in the 2 weeks before the shooting, the family court calendar, every single one failed. And 8 children who went to sleep on a Saturday night never saw Sunday afternoon. By Monday morning, West 79th Street was covered in flowers, balloons, and stuffed animals. People who had never met those children stood in the street and cried. A school bus attendant drove from the other side of the city just to leave flowers at the fence. Vigils were held that same night. Candles, prayers, a city trying to understand how to bury 8 children at once. Mayor Tom Arsenault called it simply maybe the worst tragic situation Shreveport has ever faced. Police Chief Wayne Smith stood in front of cameras with visible, unguarded grief and said, "I just don't know what to say." Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, a Shreveport native, addressed the shooting publicly. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry said he and his wife were heartbroken, and in the days that followed, someone set fire to the home of Elkins' mother community grief turning into community rage. That fire is still under investigation. This shooting is now the deadliest mass shooting in the United States since January of 2024. At least 114 mass shootings have been recorded in America in 2026 alone, and we are only 4 months in. At least 6 mass murder incidents had already occurred before this one, and now Shreveport holds the worst. 8 children. 1 morning. A trail of warning signs that stretched back years. Here is what I want to leave you with tonight. Domestic violence is not a private matter. It is not something that stays inside 4 walls. It reaches into schools and courtrooms and neighborhoods, and it reaches into the future, into the lives of children who never had a vote in any of it. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text the word START to 88788. If you see someone unraveling, if someone tells you they cannot come back from their demons, please do not wait for the system to act. Be the intervention yourself. Jayla was 3. Shayla was 5. Brillan was 5. Kayla was 6. Kadarian was 6. Layla was 7. Marquan was 10. Seria was 11. They were in the yard playing on Saturday evening. Their father was on the porch. A neighbor waved. Don't let those 8 names become background noise. Drop their names in the comments below if you watched this entire video. Say their names. That is the least we can do. Subscribe if you are new here. Share this video, and we will see you on the next update, because this investigation is still active and there is more to come.